Folks, during the spring and autumn period, there was a jewelry merchant who sold pearls, but he made the casket holding the pearls even more eye-catching than the treasure itself. As a result, he met a confused buyer who paid a high price for it, then directly returned the pearl inside. Passers-by gathered around to praise the casket, asking about the type of wood and jade ornaments used. The merchant proudly introduced, it's sandalwood with green jade decorations, but for a long time, no one mentioned the pearl inside the casket. Instead, the casket had stolen the pearl's thunder. To sell the pearl, the merchant specifically asked an experienced craftsman to make the casket, repeatedly instructing, make it exquisite, make it more eye-catching than the pearl. He thought that if the casket looked nice, he could sell the pearl at a higher price, never expecting it would backfire. After the casket was finished, he coated it with clear varnish, tied a red silk ribbon around it, and lined it with velvet to prevent scratches. When the merchant placed the pearl inside, he felt delighted, thinking this casket would definitely steal the show. At that moment, a man from the state of Chu came over. He set his eyes on the wooden casket at first glance, touching it over and over in his hands, unable to look away. His attention was completely focused on the casket. He didn't even open the clasp, so he didn't see the pearl inside at all. The merchant quoted a high price, even higher than the value of the pearl itself, but the man from Chu paid without hesitation. The merchant secretly rejoiced. This casket was definitely worth making. But before his joy faded, a twist came. When the man from Chu opened the casket and found the pearl inside, he actually frowned, poured the pearl out, and wondered aloud, why is there a pearl here? In his eyes, this priceless pearl had instead become an extra thing. The merchant panicked and said the pearl was a gift, but the man from Chu replied, I only want the casket, the pearl is useless. He held the casket and left. The onlookers all laughed, saying, how silly this man is. He is leaving the treasure behind and only taking the casket. The merchant was dumbfounded. He had originally wanted the casket to set off the pearl, but instead, the buyer only wanted the casket, and the pearl had become a burden. The cloth seller next door said, your casket is too eye-catching, it overshadowed the pearl. The buyer couldn't tell the primary from secondary, so he naturally only chose what was more noticeable. Only then did the merchant realize that if you mix up the primary and secondary, even the best treasure won't be recognized. When the man from Chu got home, he couldn't put the casket down and even lit sandalwood incense to complement it. His wife picked up the pearl and exclaimed in surprise, this pearl is the real treasure. Why did you leave it aside? But the man from Chu didn't listen at all. His eyes were only on the wooden casket. His wife said, this pearl can be exchanged for more than a dozen such caskets, but the man from Chu replied, I like the casket no matter how expensive the pearl is, it's useless. He wasn't silly, he was just too obsessed with the secondary thing and couldn't tell what the real treasure was at all. The next day, the merchant put the pearl in an ordinary wooden casket. A nobleman passed by, noticed the pearl at first glance, and said, this is the real treasure. He paid generously and bought it. Without the distraction of a fancy casket, the real treasure could finally shine. A young vendor asked why he didn't use a beautiful casket. The merchant said, the casket is for holding the pearl, the secondary thing shouldn't steal the spotlight from the primary one. When doing things, you must first distinguish between the primary and secondary, otherwise, you'll make a fool of yourself like I did yesterday. Later, it became an idiom, specifically referring to those who can't tell the primary from the secondary, focus on unimportant things, and thus overlook the core value.